Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 2 of the self-worth discussion. During our last video, we left off asking some serious questions such as, who am I if I don't have the things that I've put my worth in, what is my value to others? And I just want to continue off of that. Actually, I want to get into the kind of things that we allow ourselves to do when we have low self-worth or no self-worth at all. And one of the first things is you find yourself competing unnecessarily, right? You go after things that do not belong to you. And so for some people, until you saw somebody doing something, that's when you get interested in it, because you saw that they got attention, they received accolades, they received rewards. It opened doors for them. They got so many opportunities. And so now you're looking at that, not because it motivated you, and now it's like you're harboring envy and jealousy in your heart because you want the same thing. That's what you're after, right? Because again, remember, your worth is not in anything concrete. It's on things that can't crumble. And so when you see things like this, things that are fickle, because at the end of the day, rewards, accolades, all of that, right? Attention, all of that can be taken away. But because that's what you're after, when you see that somebody has achieved something that is getting them those things, now all of a sudden you're interested in it. And so maybe you had no interest in ever being a content creator, and all of a sudden, that's where your interest is, because you see that somebody else has started doing it and is getting attention from doing that. And what that is doing is taking you away from what God has ordained for you to do, what you should be achieving. And you're going after something that has nothing to do with you. And you're never going to be satisfied because you're going in a direction that you were never meant to go in, right? And so what you saw that person attain by doing what you're going after, you're never going to attain that same thing, because it was never meant for you. And now you're harboring jealousy and envy in your heart because it didn't go as you planned. And one thing that I believe we all need to do is we really need to go before God and allow the Holy Spirit to open our eyes to see anybody around us who is silently competing with us, right? And it's important that we do that, because envy and jealousy are two very powerful emotions. And if they go unchecked, whoever is harboring those emotions can cause some serious damage. So another thing you tend to do when you have low self-esteem or low self-worth is you overlook faults, and obvious faults, not just obvious faults, that obvious red flags, because something is better than nothing, right? And I touched on this briefly in the first video regarding relationships, but it's not just romantic relationships, platonic relationships. Some of you are forcing friendships. You see that the only reason why this person is friends with you is because they're using you. They want you for something. Maybe when they go out with you, they get free things, or when they go out with you, you do things for them, you pay for them, whatever the case may be. It's obvious to everybody else around you that this person is not a good friend. But because you're so desperate for companionship or for friendship, you just overlook the faults completely. You overlook the red flags completely. Or even in a romantic relationship, right? I mean, God, for some women, you're taking care of somebody's grown child, right? You feed him, you pay his bills, he drives your car, and then he's cheating on you. And then you tell yourself, oh no, God knew I was the one who could handle him, right? And that's why God allowed me to be with him. And the whole time, you're miserable. Because not only is he doing those things, he's also demeaning you. He's talking down on you, making sure you stay down, making sure your self-worth never picks up. Making sure you never find yourself, because if you do, he can't continue to use you. All because something is better than nothing. You'd rather say, I'm in a relationship that be single. And so now you're forcing things to happen. That's not God's best for you. There's no way that you can convince yourself that that's God's best for you. That when God created you, what He had in mind for you for a spouse was somebody who was going to maltreat you. And if they're doing so in their relationship, you best believe it's going to continue in the. In fact, it's going to be worse in the marriage. It's going to be magnified. And let me put this out there: whatever it is that we nurture during the course of the relationship is what is going to be magnified in the marriage, right? And so if the red flags are extremely red and the faults, and it's just so obvious that this person is not interested in you, they're just using you, and they're not a good fit for you, you best believe that in the marriage is going to be magnified. And so if you think you're doing all of this work to get this person so that you can rest once you finally get married, you need to think again, because you're only going to have to work harder to keep the marriage. You've established a precedence here, and you're going to continue that as you continue your relationship with that person. And so you have to ask yourself, is this what you're willing to put up with for the rest of your life? Why are you putting up with this? All for the sake of what? Marriage? And when you get married, then what? You can't put your worth in that, because you're going to accept any and everybody. And so now the flags are so red, like crimson red. Everybody can see. Everybody around you can see that this is not going to work. This person is not good for you. But because you cannot, because you just rather say, I have something, and something is better than nothing. You're holding on to what is breaking you. And the last thing that happens, or at least on my list, is, when somebody has low self-worth or low self-esteem, they see negativity in everything. Okay, it could be the perfect bunch of roses, and all they're seeing is the wrapping, like something is twisted here, or like the writing, like so. And are you the only one with eyes? But you can't even blame them, because when people have such low confidence and low self-worth, they have very high expectations of themselves and of everybody else around them, right? Expectations that they themselves can't even attain. But they look at everybody through that same lens. And so don't take it personal. It's not you. When they're criticizing, they're really criticizing themselves, because they realize that they have a high esteem of themselves, or they think highly of themselves. However, their esteem is very low. And so they can never live up to the expectations, the pedestal they've put themselves on, and they've put everybody else on. And so they're constantly criticizing. They're critical of everything and of everyone around them. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the most beautiful thing. It could be the most perfect thing, and they could find fault in it. Is because their insecurities just will not allow them to just see things for what they are. They're overthinking. And so, for me, it just gets to the point where if the creator of heaven and earth, if God himself, who created you, sees you as something or someone so valuable that he sent his son to die for you because of the value he put in you, how insulting is it that you are demeaning yourself in this way, that you're devaluing yourself in this way, right? To the point where you are allowing others to devalue you. And notice I said you devalue yourself before others do, because people will only do what you allow them to do to you. People will test your limits. They will test to see if you have boundaries. And when you don't, there's some people who are only out here who are only looking out for themselves. They're just out here to use. And so if you encounter such a person and you're someone with low self-esteem, low self-worth, they're going to abuse you. They're going to misuse you because that's what you're doing to yourself. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. We have to remember that we are on this earth for a reason. We are sent. We're not just here just to be here. We're not just here to have fun. We're not just here for ourselves. We are here on assignment. And how can we know what we're here for when we don't even know who we are? We don't know where our worth is. We don't know what our worth is. It can only be found in Jesus Christ. That's the only place that you can find your worth. You cannot place it in anything else because everything else is fickle. Everything else will crumble. But Jesus Christ is the only solid rock, and that's where you can find your peace, you can find your comfort, and you can know who you are. And knowing who you are requires you to know who God is. And so I really do pray that we will all take the time to go before God and really seek Him concerning what our worth is, how He sees us, how He values us, before we devalue ourselves and allow others to continue to do so. So I pray this gives you something to think about. Be blessed.